Welcome back to the channel, guys. I really do appreciate your time. I want to talk about Saturday, the Freedom Rally in London. But specifically, I want to give you some numbers as to how incredible the British public proved themselves to be. I'm not great with numbers, and I have to say thank you to my mate Dave in Wales, who analysed a lot of data to bring you these figures to make it easy to understand just how remarkable the British public are. I also want to say thank you to British Landsure and More Than a Midlife Crisis for kind permission, to allow me to use footage from their recordings of the day. Now, I'm not anti-police, not even remotely anti-police. I love a donut, and a lot of my friends have been in the police force before it became a service. But, and it is quite a big but, somebody needs to be accountable for what happened on Saturday as far as the police kettling was concerned. What am I talking about? You may well ask. Let me just bring you British Landsure. I'm going to bring you some figures in a minute, but I want you to have a little look at these two videos and try and guess how many people are being held back by the police. Ask yourself, why are the police doing that, and what were the consequences? Here is British Landsure's video, and you can see quite clearly. I can see clearly. Bear with me, guys. This has taken a lot for me to get together.
Because it feels like wherever the police put a line, people just want to break through it. Mental. I don't want to get too close to this guy. He looks pretty serious. Like I was saying, I don't think there's anywhere the police can put a line that people won't just push through.
Look at how many people there are in that road. There are a lot of people in that road. Here's another one for you. Now, I don't know if you can see, just at the bottom of the Union flags there are a few officers in riot gear. Just concentrate your efforts on those officers there. See that? Was that a foot going in? Did that officer with the blue helmet just do a kick? Play that again. In front of the guy with the white helmet, underneath the Union flags. Kicked. What's that all about? What's he doing that for? Now, added to that, we have got the history. Yesterday's protest, yes, there was violence. Police moved in, kettling happened, and arrests were made. That much we do know. But let's pull back from the headlines and look at the numbers, because context matters. Kettling isn't some ancient police tactic. It's something that the UK borrowed from Germany in the 1990s. The tactic of kettling, or Polizeikessel, it's my best German accent, was first used in Germany during the 1986 anti-nuclear protest in Hamburg, involving the containment of 800 protesters for several hours. Over the years, police have continued to arrest protesters during violent demonstrations, including anti-austerity protests in 2015, COVID-19 lockdown protests in 2020, and environmental protests in 2023. The idea is to trap a subset of protesters who refuse to leave, contain them, and then decide whether to arrest them or beat them up, probably. Historically, the arrest rates inside kettles are actually quite well documented. Take May Day in 2001, Oxford Circus. About 3,000 people were held and 122 arrests followed. That was roughly 4%. Remember these numbers. At the G20 protests in 2009, about 5,000 people were kettled, a little over 100 arrests. That's about 2%. Remember these numbers, guys. As reported in The Guardian in 2011, the judgment places limits on the use of kettling. It says the police may only take such preventative action as a last resort for catering situations about to descend into violence. Just think about that. The police may only take such preventative action as a last resort, catering for situations about to descend into violence. And in the 2010 student protest, when a tiny, hardcore group of about 150 refused to leave Parliament Square, almost all of them were arrested. That was the exception, 76.5%. So if you average that out at 2 to 4% in the Kettle crowd ending up in custody, unless it's one of those extreme clear them all out scenarios. Now scale that expectation. If 150,000 people march, you might expect 15 to 45,000 to get kettled, and then maybe 300 to 1,800 arrests. That's the pattern. That's the maths. How many were arrested on Saturday? 25. Some of those were from the counter-protesters, but I don't know how many yet. So let's just use the whole number, 25 arrests. We don't have the numbers yet for how many were kettled on Saturday, but we know 25 people were arrested. For the number of arrests to be similar to other kettle protests, there must have only been, at most, 300 kettled on Saturday. I think it's quite clear from the videos available and those that I've shown you that there were far more than 300 people being kettled. Let that sink in. 25 out of a crowd of 150,000, that's about 0.02%. Even if you narrow it down to just a group kettled, that rate is still dramatically lower than what history suggests. If there were 1 million people in London on Saturday, that rate falls to 0.0025%. Does that mean there wasn't any violence? No, there was. People got hurt, police signs were pushed, but when we look at the actual numbers, when we compare them to what usually happens in a kettle, the number of arrests of this is tiny. So the real story here isn't just that people were arrested. It's that based on the scale of the protest and the policing tactic used, far fewer people were arrested than statistics suggest is typical. Sometimes the numbers tell a very different story than the headlines. And I haven't seen any property damage this time. Have you? Anyway, it's time to put the kettle on. I'll see you when you're older. Take care. Bye-bye.